Hi, Gerhard Bloom, once again looking at the tyranny and the delusions of the social justice movement. So I'd like to take a look at this queer theory, trans ideology, and some developments and some timely reflections. So there is a growing backlash against the gay community. I think this is tragic. Right? There are certainly gays within this queer theory movement, but there are many who are opposed to this nonsense. I have the greatest respect in the world for Douglas Murray. He is gay, but he conducts himself as a proper gentleman. And there is no way you're going to see him in a parade and assless chaps. No. This is poisonous queer theory ideology and sadomasochistic bondage nonsense. Do you honestly think, the vast majority of members of the gay community, the male gay community, support this stuff? No. And there are lots of people who aren't in that community who cheer it on, right? Leftist ideologues think there's nothing more wonderful than taking their kids, buying them an ice cream, and watch, naked men parade on Pride Day or, prancing around in bondage gear. Oh, it's wonderful for the kids. No, it's not. It's poisonous nonsense. There's a great group out there, Gays Against Grooming, because they see this poisonous nonsense for what it is. And by the way, the gay community is not a proper community at all. There are all sorts of varying interests and, affiliations. This is identity politicking and leftist cultural Marxism, dividing people along racial, sexual, gender categories. No. People have overlapping interests, unless you're one of these militant leftists. And so the backlash against gays, it's terrible. And another thing, and finally it's happening, people within, or gay people, because it's not properly a community, people who are gay are speaking out about the cancellation of gay. And this is happening, playing on the most reductive stereotypes of sex. A young woman, she likes playing hockey. She's attracted to other girls. Must be a boy, really deep down inside a boy. No, she's gay. But this is happening, and same thing with gay boys, right? They're being, funneled and challenged into, becoming little girls. It's damaging. And the data on this is clear, right? The vast majority of children, adolescents with gender dysphoria, the vast majority, just wake up one day, realize, no, they're not trapped in the wrong body. And guess what? The vast majority of those gay, that's right. So these poisonous cross-sex hormones and these surgeries being done, it is awful. And here's a horrifying tale. Listening to Megyn Kelly's podcast, she discusses a man pretending to be a woman, so a trans woman, i.e. a man, breastfeeding an infant. And yes, this can happen. You give the right medications, and undoubtedly cross-sex hormones to a man, and he can lactate with the aid of breast pumps. What is going into this infant's body? This is child abuse, and what sort of long-term catastrophic consequences is this going to have to this baby? And I am sure the people in the medical community are assuring everybody that there's nothing wrong here, nothing to see here, folks, except they're lying. Just as they lied and continue to lie about the cross-sex hormones and puberty blockers. You give puberty blockers to a child, this isn't a pause button, it disrupts natural puberty, and it can't be undone. You give a young boy puberty blockers, and he ends up with a micro penis, and undoubtedly suicides. This is awful, tragic. And imagine that. This has been done to you when you were too young to understand the consequences of it, and you realize that you are just gay and you have a micro penis. And for many of these people who've been given these puberty blockers, they don't have sexual function. The women lose their ability to give birth. It is awful. And no, it is not the science. The science is being suppressed. Country after country in Europe now has realized this. Sadly, not before, thousands of young people have had their lives and bodies destroyed. Sweden, Finland, Spain, Britain, they're slamming the brakes on this stuff. And in Canada and the United States, it's being coerced. In Canada, if you have a child and you don't want this child to get cross-sex hormones because it's not science, you can have your child taken away from you. And in the United States, this is happening. It is poisonous. No. And gay, the LGBTQ plus, no. There's no natural affiliations here. The interests don't align. Trans women, i.e. men pretending to be women, are trying to morally coerce and intimidate lesbians into having sex with them. But the lesbians don't want to because they're attracted to women. And these guys in skirts aren't women. And I've seen pictures on the internet of men pretending to be women with t-shirts, some mimicking fake blood with, threatening, violent messages on their bodies. In one case, some Marilyn Manson lookalike freak suggesting that somebody should do very serious mortal harm to TERFs. And TERFs, it's trans exclusionary radical feminists. Trans exclusionary? They're men. So these feminists, they're on the side of women, protecting women's sports and protecting women from men in women's locker rooms. And this is radical? This isn't radical. It's these freaks who are threatening them with violence. And there have been 2 major mass shootings by trans individuals. Now, the most recent one, I don't know how this ideology plays into it, if at all. But there was the event in Nashville where a trans man, so a woman pretending to be a man, goes into a Christian school and kills little kids and teachers. And undoubtedly, this is the product of this queer and trans ideology. Because guess what? Basic Christian belief is that God created men and he created women, and you can't change gender. And that's also the science, by the way. But if you deny that fact, some of these radical trans activists say you're erasing our existence. They see you calling out the fact that the emperor has no clothes as erasing their existence. So they don't feel the least bit shy about erasing other people's existence in the very literal sense. This is happening. And by the way, with respect to the trans community, no, there are people within who are trans, because it's, again, not a community, who think this gender treatment or mistreatment for kids is the moral evil that it is. I mentioned previously a person by the name of Buck Angel. Yes, this Buck Angel has had a pretty colorful life. Doesn't matter to me. He is speaking out against this. Outstanding. No, and many people who support this trans ideology and this queer theory aren't gay, they're not trans, they're just very stupid leftists, and they don't understand the consequences of their ideology. It is awful. Anyways, some timely reflections here. Do check out my book, Deconstructing Social Justice. It's available on Amazon. Not important because I wrote it. I wrote it because the issues could not be more important. And I think you'll be deeply impressed. Thanks so much for your time and attention. Bye-bye.